Holy... Guys. There's someone or something in my house. I don't know what to do. Hold on, let me get the lights. I'm just hearing sounds everywhere. I think I'm going insane. Like, there has to be something in here. I made myself a fort. There's 72 hours until someone gets home, and I'm just gonna hang out in here and ignore all the noises I hear and hope that, like, they leave me alone if I leave them alone. So, welcome to the haunted house. Okay, for the next 72 hours, I will not really be leaving this small fort that I've made. I do have to go to work one day, so I will be leaving for that. But other than that, I'm very excited to bring you the 72 hours in the haunted house reading vlog. I'm excited to start reading. I'm literally holding myself back. I wanted to start all day. It's a little bit early, but I wanted to film the intro and have that all over and done with so that at 5 o'clock my time, I can like just start reading. If you don't know anything about this reading vlog, it's just a readathon that the Late Night Crew hosts every single year, me, Mel, and Rye. We have different variations of it, and we have guest hosts with us every single time where we just read for 72 hours, and there's like a spinner wheel to help people pick prompts. This one is spooky themed, so horror and thriller. I will have the announcement video linked down below, but you don't need it in order to watch this because by the time you're seeing this video, the readathon is over. But there's a 72 hours probably coming up in May, and probably some after that. It is a continual readathon that we just continually do. Anyways, I have my fort set up. It's smaller than last year's. Last year's Smut Den fort I could like stand up in, and this one feels like very cozy but also very restricted. And I know by Sunday I'm gonna want out of here because like I sleep in here, I do everything because I'm crazy. But I need to do my first spin to get the reading going. I will be sticking on the horror wheel. I've learned that I'm a horror gal, not really a thriller gal as much. So I have the horror wheel. Last year I DIY'd my own spinner wheel. This year we upgraded, and instead of having a floppy little wheel that didn't spin properly and landed on the same thing over and over again, da-da-da, we have a properly purchased spinning wheel. The whirl of fun. That's what it says right there. So we are going to spin this and see what my first prompt leads me to. I don't know what I want. Like, I'm just open to anything. I'm going to set this to focus on the wheel, brighten this up a little, and we're going to go. We're just going to go for it. I'm so scared. Spooky word. Oh, that's easy. This means it just has to have a spooky word in the title, and I'm okay with that. This is good. I have a lot of options for that, so let me get them and I will let you know. Let's just, over here we have the books I need. I ended up letting my Patreons pick because I just couldn't decide. It was too big of an option, but they ended up going with Dead Lake by Darcy Coates. I'm 40% into this. I'm going to try and do small updates for you because I'm probably going to read a lot. This is a short story novella by Darcy, and so it follows our main character Sam, who is a artist, and she has an art show coming up, but she is in a creative block, and so she goes to her uncle's cabin in the middle of nowhere, secluded cabin, for a week just to let herself paint. She ends up seeing a man on the dock, and there's not really supposed to be anyone close to her cabin. She's in the middle of nowhere, like literally no power, off the grid style. That's where our story like takes off. Like that happens, you get that set up really fast. I will say like in this, I'm impressed with how fast Darcy is at setting things up, because one of Darcy's like strong parts of her books is her characters, and what makes them feel so cozy is the love of the characters you have in Darcy's stories. You really get to know them, you start to feel for them, all of those things, and so I was really unsure how I'd feel about this. I am thinking that the pacing is just a little bit too quick for me. I wish we were getting a little bit more tense and spooky moments. Something I also felt with Caro Haunt is I just wanted a slower build up at times. Sometimes I think Darcy's very much about just like quick to the spot, even in her like longer novels. I do wish that this was a little bit longer, but so far I'm really enjoying it. It reads like a classic Darcy, and it's not what I expected when I started reading it, and it was a good pick to start the readathon. I'm already almost done it, so I will update you at the end with my final thoughts, but I don't see them changing very much. I think it's going to be a 3 or a 4. Very enjoyable with just like a little bit of nitpicks. Okay, I finished my first book of the readathon. It ended up being a low 3-star for me. I think it is my least favorite Darcy that I've read yet, but still really fun and a really good read. Like, I just enjoy Darcy, so I don't see a Darcy book just getting less than 3 stars anyways from me. There's just something about her writing that I really enjoy, and it feels like comforting to me, which is weird because it's a horror book, but it's why I call it cozy horror. There were just a little bit of logistic issues for me, and I think if you want a story like Dead Lake, I would just recommend reading Hunted instead, which is also by Darcy Coates. I wonder if like writing this helped her write Hunted, or which one came first, or whatever. I don't have a lot to say. For me and Darcy, it's just like enjoyable. I don't know. Like, it is what you expect when you read Darcy, and I enjoyed Dead Lake. I enjoyed our main character. I enjoyed the setup, and I do think that there was a really good job of making me feel connected to characters, but the spooky factor, I think, got lessened because of the fast pace of the story, and that affected my enjoyment. And then also there was plot holes because we were just like going too fast. But anyways, I need to do another spin and get myself a second read, which is really exciting because it's only Friday and I'm already on my second book. Let's go. I'm an overachiever. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. Oh no, this is not what I wanted. The problem with this spin is my gothic prompt is a Darcy Coates, but I don't really want to read Darcy back to back. But it is like what I've been waiting for, is to read the short story collection and be gothic. I could do T. Kingfisher though. I'm just going to update you with whatever book I picked. I'm not going to let you know right now just because I'm unsure. My patrons might help me. Things like that. So I'll see you when I'm 60%, 50% into the book. Night has come and we're getting a little disheveled. I did end up finishing my next book. For Gothic, I ended up asking my patrons to pick between 2 books, and they picked the Shirley Jackson We've Always Lived in the Castle. I read about 5 pages of that and decided it's not for me. It's just not the writing style that I like, and I just wasn't into it, and I wanted to be into it at this point in the readathon. I might come back to it later if Gothic gets spun again. But I ended up going with Quarter to Midnight by Darcy Coates. I'm going to try to avoid Darcy for the rest of the readathon because I have so many other authors and books I want to try, since we did 2 Darcys back to back. But Darcy's just such a comfort author that it's hard not to pick her. I picked this up because on the back it says lose yourself in 15 chilling tales of gothic horror and suspense, and Darcy is known for like that haunted house and like a bit of a gothic setting. I will say I think that there might be one short story in this that actually counts as gothic, but I did my best at trying. It was more just like psychological and supernatural more than anything. This is one of the first short story collections I've actually read. I've always said I'm not a short story gal because I just tend to want things to be longer. I will say I actually enjoyed my time reading this. This collection itself is going to get like a 3 stars overall, but I do have a couple tabbed. I tabbed my favorites. There were a couple of 5 stars in this. I tagged one that I just thought was so odd. And then there's about 2 that I think were like complete duds for me. For my favorites, if you do pick up this collection or in general, like Darcy's short stories actually are in the back of some of her novels. A lot of her novels come with like 3 extra short stories, and then she just like bound them all up. The ones I really liked were Whose Woods These Are and The Mannequins. Those were like my 2 favorites. And then Cuddy Street Lamp was just so weird that I really enjoyed it. I think my least favorite was Dead Call in the entire thing. I also really liked one of the last ones. I didn't tab it. Hitchhiker was a dud for me too, but I really liked the one before that, which is Station 331, and I'm actually wondering if that's a short story that's inside Parasite. I would not be surprised if that was like the beginning of something. I will say for the most part, my biggest complaint about this, and I think what I will be looking for future short story collections, is I wish it had like a theme to it. I thought it would, considering it said like gothic horror, but I just felt like this was just a collection of short stories that have already been written and just like shoved together and were like, here's short stories, which is what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think I just would rather read an anthology that like blends together and like there's a theme and just like an overall vibe to the stories, and I just didn't feel like I got that in this one. But other than that, I did really enjoy it, and I definitely think I'll be trying more short stories, which is good because I own another Darcy collection. I just recently picked up Gleanings, which is short stories, and I also have like this like classic horror short story collection. So I do have some to try, also some fantasy ones as well. But I think specifically in the horror genre, I'm going to be looking for more short stories after this. I actually really enjoyed that. So if you have any recommendations for horror short story collections, let me know down below, specifically if they have like a theme or a video, like a theme or a vibe. I've been talking way too long and we need to do our next spin so that I can pick my next read and take all my makeup off. Mickey, you are not the star of this show. He wants to go to sleep. Okay. Who's ready? Not me. Psychological, which I think I'm gonna pick up a Keelan Patrick Burke. I think I might do one of these, but I'll keep you updated in the next clip, whenever that is. Good morning. It's day 2, so it's Friday morning. Let's put you down here. And I finished Jack and Jill last night. Oh, my hair. I was up till probably only like 2 my time. I didn't stay up that late. Finished this, watched some YouTube, and then I went to bed. So it's about 9 in the morning. I've been up for a little bit, but got myself a coffee. Figured it's time to review this for you, and then we're gonna spin the wheel again because, like, excitement. This bulb is burnt out and it's pissing me off because it's like literally the one that matters. What if I look at me? I'm an electrician. Nope. It's fucked. I'm giving this book a 3-star. We've had a lot of 3 stars so far, which is good. I like them. This was not what I was expecting after having read Sour Candy by the same author, and that being one of the weirdest books I've ever read. I was expecting like really weird in this, and I don't think it was weird. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And I really like Keelan Patrick Burke's writing style, so I think he's another author that might just always get a 3-star from me, just because, at least a 3-star from me, because I enjoy his writing style, and I feel like it's very strong and calming, and I like the concepts he has, because, okay, like, this is still weird. Like, I'm sitting here like, I was expecting it to be weird. It still was weird. It's just that Sour Candy was just, like, so weird. This one follows it's kind of like a play on the retelling of Jack and Jill, and, you know, Jack and Jill roll down the hill, and we're following Jillian and John, who used to visit their local cemetery and, like, roll down the hill together, and it was, like, their way of escaping their horrific life because their father is abusive. And we're following Jillian 20 years later, who has a new life. She has a husband and kids, and she starts dreaming nightmares of what happened to her as a child. And it was just interesting. I can't really tell you more than that. If you want a psychological horror, this was the perfect pick for psychological. It really is a psychological horror. I think that this would also count for cosmic. I'm gonna guess most of his stories will count for cosmic, and they'll probably be what I pick up for cosmic. I think he does really good character work, which is, like, insane because it's only like 90 pages. Yeah, and I also love these covers. I definitely think I need to purchase more of his books and have them sitting on my shelf. Anyways, I really enjoyed this. We need to spin. We're doing a new spinning spot because I'm too lazy to move over there. So, what are we going to get? I don't think I wanted this. Oh no. I don't think I wanted this! I'm debating using a respin. I don't want to read another Darcy. I do have Horror Store. Is this the time that I get to Horror Store? I could do this. It is actually quite short. It's 220 pages. Maybe I'll do Horror Store. I'm gonna go check Rye and Lexi are on sprints currently, and I'm gonna ask them if they have any recommendations. But otherwise, I might do Horror Store. Cozy. It's not what I wanted, but we'll make it work. I have been wanting to get to this story for so long. Could I spin Cozy to, like, Cozy in a snowy cabin? I just don't want to read another Darcy. Like, I love Darcy, but, like, I want to try more horror in this vlog. Also, I realized I hate talking about horror because I don't know what to say because I feel like things are spoilers. Like, fantasy is so easy to, like, discuss on camera, but, like, horror, like, I just talked about this and I feel like I really told you nothing besides that, like, his writing is, like, technically strong and it's weird. It's a psychological. It's also a little bit domestic. So if you like domestic thrillers, maybe you like domestic horror. And, like, when I talked about the Darcy Coates earlier, I feel like I told you nothing. So I'm sorry if this vlog is useless and you're just seeing all my reactions. If I do read Horror Store, I'm excited to see if I like it just because I have had a really big win with Grady Hendrix, but since then they've all gone downhill. I love, 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 love the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, but everyone I've read since then I haven't liked. So I wonder if this will be it for me. I'll update you a bit. Also, my coffee is Starbucks blonde iced coffee. We have like tall cans of it, and then I put chocolate milk in it because I like a little bit of sweetness, but not like a lot of pumps of syrup, because like they feel too artificially sweet to me, and I love chocolate milk. But yeah, there you go. And I have my spooky little mug. So far, I'm really liking this. I am shocked because I've been so hesitant to pick up Grady, especially after I picked up How to Sell a Haunted House, and I despised that book. I did not enjoy my time with it. And it's just been like downhill. Like the first one I picked up from him I loved, and then since then I've just liked them progressively less and less. So I'm really, really, really happy that this is working for me. It's just like what I love about Grady. It's campy, it's funny, a unique premise, and it's really not taking itself too seriously. And it's just something I really enjoy within the horror genre, but specifically when Grady writes it. He has these unique premises that are just so cool, and like this is an experience in itself to read. The way it's written, the way it looks like an IKEA catalog, and I'm doing the immersion reading because Audible Plus has the audiobook for it, and I'm reading along, but like everything is so good. Like even the audiobook reads the like furniture stuff, and it's just like really much an experience when reading. So if you don't know, Horror Store follows our main character Sam, who works at an Orsk? And Orsk is a ripoff IKEA. Like IKEA exists within the world, which is our world. She lives her day-to-day life, and she's dropped out of high school, and she doesn't want to work here for the rest of her life. So it's just like this internal struggle about like wasting your life working for the man, and like all of that, when she's asked to pick up an extra shift and stay overnight because their boss thinks someone's breaking in, and they just have a couple of them to stay overnight, make a lot of money, and make sure that no one is breaking in or catch the people that's breaking in. And from there, it's a haunted story. So take that what you want and where the story is gonna go. I love the characters in this. I just think that they're hilarious archetypes, and Grady's really making fun of that archetype a lot, but he's also got just a little bit of he just adds enough seriousness. Like with Southern Book Club, the conversations on racism in that were just like insane in between the humor and the campy moments, and I think he's doing that a lot in this one too. It's campy, but there's still that discussion on corporate life and how draining that is, and how we live to work instead of just working to live, and like things like that. And I'm really appreciating it. I'm really enjoying it, and I can't wait to finish it, so I'm gonna keep reading. This book tricked me. Guys! It tricked me so much because I last time talked to you and I was loving it, and I was feeling like 5-star vibes. I had a wonderful time with it. It all went the wrong direction. I don't think Grady Hendrix is for me. I think Southern Book Club was a fluke. Because there are patterns in his writing that I'm starting to learn and things I dislike. I ended up giving this one a 2 stars. Which is hilarious considering I loved the first 50%. But like the last 50, it was just too extremes. And for me, an ending matters more than the beginning. And like the things that I didn't like really, really mattered to me. So something with Grady Hendrix is that like he tends to just like flip a switch in his writing. So like we had 100 pages of just like character setup and setting setup, but we didn't really get to see any like spooky moments within there. I think when you say like I'm getting a haunted IKEA, I'm expecting like those like spooky moments where like you hear something or you see something and like it's not there. And I feel like every time we got to see something, it was actually explained, and I wanted moments that were unexplained to give me the atmosphere that I wanted. I think he goes too much into the camp for me to feel the spooky atmosphere that I want, but I did get spooky atmosphere in Southern, so like I don't know. And then we hit 120, page 116 actually, and this is when it lost me, because it seems to go within a matter of 5 pages to like height of paranormal. Like the climax of the story, you know, when the seances happen and like the ghosts are everywhere and it's chaos, and it just comes out of like, it's too extreme for the setup we got. I think I just need more of a build-up than Grady Hendrix gives you. And I just lost interest so quickly because I was like, I just don't think that he makes me believe, okay? This is what I want for my horror, is I want to believe that this is scary. I want to feel for my characters, whether I'm actually scared or I'm just scared for my characters. Whenever I read Grady Hendrix, I feel like our main characters are never terrified. Like, within the story, the main character is not scared, really. Like, she runs away, but, like, you don't feel, like, the terrifying feeling within her. Like, you don't feel the suspense ever. And I think that really, really doesn't work for me with his writing style. I just don't think he's for me. Which is really sad, because, like, I wanted to give this 3 stars just for the experience, and I like the concept, and maybe I think that's what maybe I don't like. He goes too far into a concept, and like, you know what, you did something cool with a haunted IKEA catalog. You can just give me a haunted story. I don't need your entire book to be revolutionary. Because you gave me such a cool concept in general, I would have been along for just a classic spooky ghost haunting story. And maybe that's what it is. Like, his concepts are too much for me in the end. His concepts kind of take over, and I feel like it is the reason people love them. But I want to love the actual grit of the story, not just the concept. And there are people who like the grit too. Like, it just doesn't work for me. But we need to do another spinning wheel, because, like, I'm just really disappointed that I didn't like this. Like, I wanted to like it so much. And, like, I don't want to unhaul it because it's so cool, but now I have to because I need room on my shelves for new books. Let's do the spin. Let's spin. I'm scared. I don't know if I have anything to read for this prompt. I need to do some research. I don't want to respin, but I definitely need to do some research to see if I have anything that'll fit. Frick! I did some research, and I'm gonna read The Snow. I don't know if it counts, but it does say because there's something out there besides the cold, something sinister. So I'm hoping that there's gonna be like a monster featured in this somewhere. I think it's gonna be my best bet right now. We'll see how it goes. It's only Friday and this wasn't the plan, but I'm gonna use a respin. I read about 5 pages of The Snow, and I just don't want it. Like, there's books I want to get to, and I'm really hopeful that we can get a good prompt this time. So let's do that. Come on, give me something good. The wheel hates me, but I do want to read a T. Kingfisher this weekend. I'm out for work, so you guys are getting an iPhone update. I'm about just under 50% into my Gothic pick, which is T. Kingfisher, the House of Usher retelling. I don't know anything about the House of Usher. I've honestly never read it, don't know what it's about or anything, and I don't know if that's going to be good or not good going into this. So far, I'm really bored and I don't understand how this is horror. Like, I haven't felt like anything was creepy, but I am not a psychological horror gal. If there is nothing going on that creates atmosphere in a story, I'm out. I have learned that. So I don't think this is for me. And also, this is the second T. Kingfisher I've read, and I DNF'd the first one. I don't know if I'm a T. Kingfisher gal. A lot of people like love T. Kingfisher. I don't think I'm that person, but that's my update for you. I'll update you back in my fort when I'm done my photo shoot. Hi. Okay. I got home like an hour ago, finished my book, showered because I smelled like campfire, got back into my fort, and now we're gonna avoid the noises again because, like, leaving, when I left, like, they started acting up again. Anyways, I finished my book, and I'm gonna end up giving it 2 stars. I spoke too soon earlier. I definitely do see how it is horror, but it doesn't come into the later half of the book. So for me, I really liked the later half of the book, actually. I found it was more engaging and intriguing, but the first half of the book just had already lost my attention span too much. I struggled with it for sure. I wonder if it would be better if you actually liked the original or knew of the original, because I know nothing about it, and so, like, I wonder if that would help your intrigue. Although I have heard it's pretty much word for word, like, it's not much of it's literally just a retelling. Like, there's not any, like, creative initiative in it. But I don't know. It's hard to say whether that would have helped my enjoyment or hindered it. But, like, I just was like, where the heck is this going? And maybe that didn't help me at the beginning because, like, I didn't know where we were heading. I also think that I could have really enjoyed this book if it had been marketed as a sci-fi instead of horror, because lots of the elements that happen within it are things I enjoy in sci-fi, but I tend to like a more action-packed horror. It's like, you know, if you ordered pasta and your pasta came soupy, you wouldn't be happy. But if you ordered soup, you'd be happy. That was a terrible, terrible comparison. But you know what I mean? Like, you go into things, you want different things for different genres, and so that was something for me. I think that if this had been a sci-fi, I could have really enjoyed it, but I wanted a horror, and so I think that affected my enjoyment of it. I don't know. Anyways, I've already spun for the next one, and so you're going to see that clip now. I had to spin so that I could start while I was eating and devouring food. So, hi. I need to eat, but I also need to spin the wheel really quickly, so you're going to get a shaky clip of me spinning the wheel. Okay, cat, you're fine. Ready, set, go! I love that! Sci-fi horror! I have a Mirror Grant to read that's short. Okay, I needed to update you, but we've reached the state of the night where laying down 4 updates feels acceptable. I am 75% of the way through Final Girls. I am liking it. I'm not sure it's gonna quite get there for me to be like a 5-star, but I do really like it. So this concept, Mickey thinks he is the main character on my channel. Like, so in this story we're following a scientific research center where they have made virtual reality a thing, and they use that to help people with their trauma. So essentially these people sign up that have trauma of some sort, and they get put into a virtual horror movie, essentially. Like, they're put into slashers, they're put into scenes that are so unbelievable in the real world that you know that it's like fake and it's a dream to help you deal with like whatever baggage you have. So I think in the story we have some people who are sisters and they hate each other, and so like they go into a horror movie to be like the final girls together and work on their friendship. And it makes sense in the book. Like, the science is done really well to like make it seem somewhat believable. I mean, the idea is that it's not believable because we're following our main character, who is a journalist, who is known for like debunking things like this. So she's here to interview and investigate them and like say that it's false, essentially. And so we're thrown into the chaos. I am really liking it. There is some suspending of disbelief in the way it's told, because the narrator is all-knowing at some points, but then like not at others, and it's very interesting, and there is a lot of suspending of disbelief, but I'm still liking it, and I'm enjoying it, and there's just something super interesting about the premise and the concept and like the idea of like what dreams can do to you, and like what like false memories can do. It talks a lot about like therapy that is like false, where like they bring out memories, but like the therapist actually has a lot to do with that memory, and lots of times they're dreams or like TV shows or things you've seen. It's really cool. I am really enjoying it, so I hope that the ending like sticks the landing for me. I finished Final Girls. I'm really happy with this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. And I think if you enjoy Mirror Grant's writing, if you enjoyed Into the Drowning Deep, you'll enjoy this. It's just a discussion on science, and has a look onto scientists, but also a look onto life, and also relationships within that, and how science can affect your relationships and things like that. I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. It reminds me a lot of Cabin in the Woods, which like I know a lot of people didn't like, but I did like that movie. So I liked the like virtual reality scenes in this, because I thought it was cool to have someone like controlling your dreams. I really think that's such a cool concept, and like the choices you make affect the whole dream, but like also there's someone controlling it. I think that's really, really cool and entertaining. I really, really liked this. I don't know what to say about it. There's something like utterly creepy about Mirror Grant's writing style, because it is such a focus on like human interactions, human connections, your real thoughts and feelings as a human, that then is just like echoed in the horror. Makes it so unique, I think. I don't I don't know of a horror author who does that. It's because I think of that like sci-fi blend that she does so well. Like the science in this is super cool. The premise is super cool. Things I didn't like though were the like, in the like dream sequences, we'd sometimes get a look at like what our characters were doing in like reality, and it would just happen in like brackets, and I wasn't the biggest fan of how that was done. And I also didn't like the one character we see around 60%. I just kind of felt they were not written as well as they could have been, and I think those are the only things that held this back from a 5-star for me. I loved so much of this. And like the ending, I thought the ending was so cool, and like the ideas and the concepts and the science, so good. I really, really liked this one. I hope more people pick it up, but let's spin this wheel. Okay, let's spin this thing and see what I get. Supernatural. I like that one. I think I'll either go with Blanky, which I know Mel gave 5 stars earlier, or I could start Ghost Eaters. I think I'm gonna do a little check and see which one works for more prompts, and then I'll pick whatever one up that doesn't. Okay friends, I am 65% into Ghost Eaters, and let me tell you, we all talk about how Grady Hendrix has the coolest concepts ever. This concept is so cool, and I also think Whisper Down the Lane had such a cool concept that like Clay McCoy Chapman, maybe my kind of concept author, because I'm loving this. I'm having so much fun with it. This story follows Erin, who cannot set boundaries with her college boyfriend, Silas. Silas and her grew up together, and Silas is what kind of pushed her off the path. Like she grew up in like a Southern Belle family, very like rich and proper, but Silas was into drugs, and she got into drugs and all of that stuff. And now in her modern day life, every time she keeps moving forward in life, it seems like she gets a call from Silas and is pulled back into the life of drugs and stuff like that when Silas shows up dead. This is not a spoiler. It's in the synopsis, even though it doesn't happen for quite a long time into the book. You do have a very slow setup, but I think it's done well, and it's meant to like make you feel for our character. Her and her other buddies decide to do a seance on this drug, this new drug they created called Ghost. But Ghost has a major side effect. After you take Ghost, you're gonna see ghosts forever. And it's insane. It's really cool. There have been disturbing scenes in this where I was drinking. I got a smoothie for breakfast. I ordered booster juice. I was drinking this reading scene. I was all of a sudden like, oh, I need to put this down. There's no eating allowed. There are just like these really creepy ghost scenes, and I'm here for it. So I'm really liking this one. It is slow, and it deals a lot with like grief. The way this is written also kind of reminds me of how Mary is written, because it's kind of like a stream of consciousness, and you're following a character who's very unlikable, which like I love an unlikable character, but you still feel for her even though you're like, what the heck are you doing? Like, that is the wrong thing to do. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I don't really fully know where it's going, but I also felt that way with Mary, and I really ended up enjoying Mary. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know that this is really fun. I really, really like the concept. It has a little bit of reminders of like Flatliners, the movie. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. That's all I gotta say. I'll update you when I'm done. 5 stars. 5 freaking stars to Ghost Eaters. I am actually really shocked because when I read How to Sell a Haunted House earlier by Grady Hendrix last month, I did not like it. I did not like the grief horror in that. I was like put off on grief horror. I was like, grief horror is not my thing. But conversations about grief are some of my favorite things in fantasy. So like it didn't really make sense to me. But this is grief horror, and I ate up every bit of it. And so maybe it's just like the difference in how someone deals with the grief and what I can relate to versus what someone else can relate to. I was bored of the grief talk in How to Sell a Haunted House, but like it's implemented in this story throughout the entire story, and it's done really well. Where How to Sell a Haunted House was kind of like grief horror, like vomit at the beginning, and then it went elsewhere. This is just like the entire story is a beautiful story on grief and addiction. But I don't think this is a book for everyone. Like, to be honest, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I think I'm gonna be like the only one on the planet to give this 5 stars. Other people will give it 5 stars, but just like not a lot of people I think will like this one. I think it's got a very specific audience. I think that something beautiful about this was the horror is about addiction and whether this actually happened or if it was all a bad trip. And if you've ever experienced a bad trip, it's spooky. And like, I think it's handled so well in here. Like the entire time I was like, is this real? Like, is this reality? Or is she on a bad trip? We do follow a character who's unlikable. We follow a very long story. Like, it does, I want to say slump at things, because for part of the story, you're just watching our main character's insanity, like, dwindle. Like, think The Yellow Wallpaper, if you've read that. And there is a lot of just watching her do that. There's a lot of, like, seeing what her life could have been like if addiction hadn't been there, and all of these things. And it's just brilliantly done for me. So each part in this book is broken down to kind of be a different stage of addiction, and like within that part you see that stage unravel, and I don't know, it's so good. I cannot wait to read another book from his. I was looking at reviews, and I do think that this is very different than some of the other stuff he's done, but like I really liked his writing style, and I really liked the audiobook. I have nothing to say besides, like, please read this. Actually, maybe don't read it, because, like, again, it's not a recommendation, because I think a specific type of person will like this. But, like, also, I liked it. I don't know what I'm saying. I need to spin. Let's spin. I don't know what I want. I'm scared. Haunted house. Okay, I had plans to avoid Darcy for the rest of this readathon, but Haunted House came up, and I can't not read a Darcy for Haunted House. Like, can you blame me? And also, after, like, the high of the 5-star, I want to keep, like, good vibes going. And I know Darcy will have a good vibe. Ooh, actually, is the slob haunted? I might text my sister to see if the slob is a bit of a haunted house, because it could be. Actually, I don't think it is. I don't know, but it just says, all is going well until she arrives at the steps of a house that will change her forever. The steps of an evil that resurrects the ghastly memories she's so desperately tried to wash away. So I'm going to text my sister and see if she's read it. Otherwise, I will be going with The Haunting of Gillespie House, which is really short. There's like a bunch of short stories in the end of this. So it ends here, which is like 153 pages. So it'll be a short one, but I'm excited to get to it. I finished The Haunting of Gillespie's House, and I actually did enjoy this one. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. As I said, I don't think I can see a Darcy getting less than 3 stars, just because I do love her writing so much. This one, I liked a lot about it. So this follows our main character, who ends up getting a job to watch over the Gillespie property, which is over an hour's drive from the nearest town. She's just gonna be here for a month while the Gillespies go get some couple counseling, and she's just watching over their house, essentially. So she's just excited to be in the middle of nowhere and relax and all this, when the first night she starts hearing noises, and she has to figure out what happened on the property and like the history that revolves around the house. There are so many elements that I liked about this. I just don't think it was long enough. It ends right here. The rest of this book is all short stories. It's only 129 pages long. So we have about 100 pages of short stories, 2 of which I've already read because they are in the collection I read earlier in this video. I don't think there was really enough time to make me feel for a lot of things I'm supposed to feel about. And then also, I think when Darcy writes shorter stories, I find there to be a lot of plot holes in her like 120 page books. I like her short stories, and I like them to be a little bit longer, just because then it minimizes plot holes for me. Both the like ones I've read in this video that were short, I found there was plot holes that didn't completely make sense, but if they had just been given more time, I would have trusted her to make that make sense to me. Overall though, I still enjoyed it. I think I liked it better than the other one I read, just because I like the style of this haunted house and like the gothicness of it. There is also, I'm holding this upside down. There's also a short story in this called The Crawl Space, with an author's note that talks about how that's what originally inspired this book. And I've already read Crawl Space, but I think it would have been really cool to read afterwards and see the inspiration afterwards. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. We're gonna do a spin, and I'm lazy, so we're gonna get a handheld shaky spin again, and we'll see what I land on. Okay, let's spin. Oh my gosh, it's moving. Spooky word! Let's go! I keep trying to move around the fort to give us different angles, and it's really failing, so you just see sheet everywhere I go. Okay, what was the last thing I said to you guys? Oh, I think we did a wheel spin. I'm putting my hair up. Hold on. We spun spooky word. So I picked up Dead Inside, and this this is something. This is extreme horror, and so we're following a young hospital security guard who has a interesting taste in women, who meets a horrifying maternity doctor who has an interesting appetite. That's all I'm gonna say. This is honestly, most of this book is just about the extreme horror, and it's just here for shock value and gore and to really just like be like, holy crap, that's effed up. Like, that is the purpose of this, and that is the purpose I find of most extreme horror, although I do think that there is a very tragic love story type thing within this story. It's not a romance, but I would say like a tragic love story. And I appreciated the humor in this that went along with all the sadistic things that were happening. But this is not a book for everyone. Actually, it's probably a book for pretty much no one. This is a story that, like, avoid at all costs if you have a lot of triggers. Because honestly, if you have any trigger, probably avoid this at all costs. Because it has every trigger, I feel like, known to man. It is extreme horror to a T. Specifically, if you are a parent and a more recent parent, I would probably avoid this. I appreciated it though. I liked most of the fucked up scenes. There's one scene that I was like, oh, that might be going too far. But it just like, it did what I feel like it sets out to do, which is to just like, but yeah. I'm gonna end up giving it 3 stars. I do think it drags a little bit in the middle, and some of the scenes weren't necessary to move the story along. Because there's a small story. Most of the story is just the extreme horror, as I said. But anyways, I was shocked by the fact that I enjoyed this. There's a lot of humor in this book. It is a dark humor. I just have a little tab in here because I thought it was really funny that our protagonist knows he's just like effed up and weird, and he goes, no cockroach ever desired not to be a cockroach just because it knew it was a cockroach. And just a lot of really, really messed up things are said in this, but there is like a comedy side to it that I appreciated. So yeah, we're gonna do another spin, and it's gonna be another handheld spin because I'm lazy and don't want to put you on the tripod over there. I have been waiting for this prompt. Lexi and Kaylee and Rye are gonna be so happy. I think I'm gonna read Cirque Berserk. Let's see how steady I can hold this. Hi, I am 50% into Cirque Berserk, and I picked this up. Okay, Mickey, lay down. I picked this up because so many people love it. So Kaylee loves it, Lexi loves it, Rye loves it, and they always recommend it for slasher. And what we're doing in the story is we're following a bunch of characters who were on their like senior day, and they've rented out a school bus and they decide to party, and then since they have more time with the school bus, they decide to go to Cirque Berserk, which is an old amusement park, and when the amusement park was around, there was a tragic accident that happened. There was like a slasher thing that happened, and now it is said that this is like haunted and all of that. I'm not loving this one. The writing is just not my favorite. It's not the most technically strong, and that is kind of affecting my enjoyment currently, but I'm still holding out hope. I finished Cirque Berserk, and it's getting a 2-star from me. This one kind of sucks because I wanted to like this so much, and so many people love it, but between the writing just not being the greatest, and then this is missing something that I think a slasher needs for me to like it. When I read a slasher, something I love about slashers is you follow this group of characters. Normally, you don't like most of them except for our final girl, but you are rooting for her to win, and you're normally rooting for like the boyfriend that has like done something wrong and is gonna prove himself. He's gonna like sacrifice himself during this, or like some kind of character like this, or like the nerdy kid who's like in love with her. Like there's like characters that you're rooting for, and you don't get that in this. Like I didn't care about the characters in this, and I wasn't rooting for anyone to survive. And if you've read this, you'll understand exactly why that's a thing. But if you haven't, you won't. It is purposeful that you don't root for anyone, but like I want that. and I wanted to even root for these characters, but I feel like I wasn't given enough to root for them. I was actually really interested in the second timeline, the original timeline of Cirque Berserk more, and I wanted to see that unfold, like the massacre and everything, and I was really disappointed that we didn't get that. Maybe I think I would have liked this if it was full length. I'm not sure, maybe. I do have a problem with like short stories, and I don't know, like novella length. I almost want them to be like 200 pages or like less than 100 pages. And this like 100 to 200 page mark, I don't know if that works for me. We'll see. I'm really sad I didn't like this one, but it was missing that like love that I have for slashers. Like, I'm not just about the gore for the slashers. Like, there's something about the characters and rooting for the characters that is something I really, really like in a slasher. And this just didn't do that for me. And yeah, I didn't really care about anything, which is just an unpopular opinion, but it is getting a 2-star for me, and let's do another roll. Okay, I would really like cosmic or like psychological. That would be good. So let's see what I get. Slasher. I literally think that we should make a rule next time that like if you get something twice in a row, you can like choose to like take it or ignore it, and it like doesn't count as a respin. But I'm not angry at this, I don't think. I have a couple slashers that I am thinking about reading, so I'm just gonna continue. I think I'll read another slasher. I ended up going with The Murders of Molly Southbourne for slasher. I think it's a bit of a stretch, but I'm counting it. If you don't know, this book follows Molly, who every time she bleeds, a clone is made, and she either has to kill that clone or that clone's gonna kill her. So Molly herself is kind of a slasher. I think she's killing everyone, but she's only killing herself. And I thought this premise sounded really cool, so I wanted to pick it up. It's a short little novella, and I'm very happy I did it. Ended up giving it 4 stars. It's midnight and I am getting tired. Not necessarily that I want to go to bed. I'm ready to like just like chill and watch like YouTube or something. My brain is like tired because I've been reading since like 10 a.m. for like 4 days straight. But we have 1 more day left, and I'm really killing it. This is why the burnout is real after 72 hours though, because you just read so much so intensely that like the next week I'm gonna struggle. But anyways, I really liked this book. I think it's written really well, and I thought the concept was just like genius and so much fun to read about. I enjoyed the first half more than the second half, because the first half we're like learning all about it, and I do think Molly ends up being a decently strong character for like what she's meant to be, and I did like that. I think holding it back from a 5-star for me was probably the lack of plot. It ends up being very repetitive after a while of just watching Molly kill some Mollys every time she bleeds, and then watching her like get rid of them. I do wish it was maybe a little bit longer and then we got in more of a plot in it. I'm really confused how there's still 2 more books in this series, because like this just works really well as a standalone. I don't think I'm going to continue. I don't know where these go from here. But anyways, I really enjoyed this, and I think if you like a little bit of sci-fi in your books, it's definitely a fun one. It's really interesting. I've never seen anything done like it before, and I think it's really, really, really well written, which is always a plus. Let's spin. I'm too tired to really discuss things, so let's spin. I'm respinning. I don't want Snowy. I really don't want Snowy. We're gonna use a respin. Fuck it. Ooh. Cosmic. This is the one I would have said I didn't want, but I'm here for it, which is good because I don't have a respin left. Tomorrow could suck without a respin, but this is a good call. I didn't want to read a slasher again for the 3rd time in a row. We are going to do a short book because I will probably be able to finish it, and it's too far back there for me to hold up, but we're going to read Blanky by Keelan Patrick Burke. I finished Blanky last night, and I'm giving this one 3 stars. I'm kind of sad because both Kaylee and Mel read this and gave it 5 stars and absolutely adored it, and I wanted to love it. And to be honest, I don't think reading it last night did it wholly a good service, because I was kind of like out of it by the end of reading last night. But I think I wanted something different out of this book than I got. It is grief horror, and you know, grief horror to me might be just like 50-50. I didn't mind the grief in this, and I did like it, but I think I wanted it to be just a little bit weirder than it is. Having previously read Keelan Patrick Burke, this is the least weird to me. But, like, I get why everyone loves it because it's written so fantastically and it handles the grief really, really well. But I just think it's my least favorite that I've read so far from him. I think Sour Candy's on top, and then Jack and Jill, and then Blanky. I wanted weird, I wanted odd, and there is elements of that in this, but not to the same extent as his other stuff that I've read. So maybe that was a me and my expectations. But, like, also I think if I'd read this at a different time, I could have liked it a little bit more. I was definitely zoning out a little bit last night. I do kind of regret reading it so late into the night, which is my own personal problem. But it is just really well written. It handles grief so beautifully, and I do love that about it. I didn't tell you what Blanky was about. Blanky is about a man who has just buried his baby girl because she passed away in a tragic accident. He's grieving and he ends up looking in her room and seeing her blankie, but he doesn't know how it got there because it wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. Strange occurrences do start to happen. I just think that this focuses a lot more on the grief side than I wanted it to. That's all. But I highly recommend it, and I think a lot of people will love it. So yeah, 3 stars to this one. And I actually already rolled last night before I went to bed just because I wanted to be able to put a poll up and to think about what I wanted to read. I knew that today, with how my reading was going for the rest of the readathon, I wanted a full-length novel. I was kind of sick of reading novellas, and they were draining me more because you have to get reinvested again and again into a story. So I just wanted a full-length novel. So I let my patrons pick, and I put up 2 previous 5-star authors from me. I put up Whisper Down the Lane by Clay McCoy Chapman, and then I also put up The Ghost Tree by Christina Henry. Whisper Down the Lane has been lost to the void of the fort, and I don't know where it is, but I do own it physically. My patrons picked The Ghost Tree, which I am excited to read. It's the longer one, and I think I did need the push to read this more than I'm gonna need it for Whisper Down the Lane, because I'm very excited to get to Whisper Down the Lane. Hi, I'm 50% into The Ghost Tree, and I'm having a great time. I love Christina Henry's writing, and it's the exact same way I felt about Near the Bone. Now, I read The Lost Girl, or The Girl in Red. The Girl in Red, not The Lost Girl. I read The Girl in Red, and I didn't love it, but that was my first one, and it was a long time ago. But so far, like, this is so comparable to this in terms of, like, writing style and intrigue, and I think the amount of action that does happen. This is multi-POV'd, which is a lot of fun, and it keeps switching POVs, but each POV I care about, and I'm excited to see what's happening. Whether they're likable or unlikable, I'm intrigued by the things that are happening, and I can relate to them and some of their thoughts. The Ghost Tree follows a small town where residents are going missing. We have 2 girls that show up dead, and they're in the forest, and there is a spooky lore about the forest. Stay out of the forest. There's the ghost tree in it that is presumably, like, everyone stays away from, don't touch it, all of that stuff. And the town has no idea what's going on, but one of the girls in this town is starting to get visions of a monster. It is a tale of, like, folklore, and I love a, like, small town with secrets. Really, really enjoying this one. I can't wait to finish it. It'll probably be my last book of the readathon, and I'm so excited to get it done, so I'm gonna go back to reading. I finished The Ghost Tree, and I'm giving it a really high 4 stars. I really liked it. There were a couple things that held it back from a 5-star for me, which is just, like, a little bit of the pacing, and maybe some expectations going in, but I really, really did enjoy it. This book reminds me a lot in tone of Clown in a Cornfield. It has a YA feel to it, but with, like, a lot of darker themes and stuff, and we do get adult POVs in this, which I think is what makes it really not YA, and, like, some of the stuff we talk about. Our main characters are teenagers, which makes the story read young, and the horror elements just remind me of the style of YA horror, where it's a lot about the characters, not just, like, the gore and the cruelness and the gruesomeness. Some things I liked about this story a lot. I like that we follow characters of all ages. Although our main characters are young, I think that she's about 15, the, like, main character, and we follow some of her friends that are, like, 16 and 18 and stuff like that. We also follow adults within the community. It was a lot of fun to see all these different POVs. Also, I love the character work in this, because you loved characters, you hated characters, you hated characters you loved at times, and you loved characters you hated at times. And it just felt very real to, like, a real personal experience with humans and human interaction. I can love someone and still have times where I think that they are a little piece of whatever. I've never seen it done so well in a book to have those feelings that feel so human of like, you don't always love someone and you don't always hate someone. There are like little moments of good and bad within everyone. So yeah, I really just liked this one. It is not what I expected. It's a lot less horror than her other stories, but I do think that Christina Henry is not for everyone because she is slow. She has a slow style of horror, and horror is more about character interactions than anything else, even though there is horrifying elements within a story. But I would pick this up if you didn't like Near the Bone, because it is very, very different and has a very fantastical feel. This is what I'm expecting Slewfoot to be like, and I'm really excited. It's not what I expected this to be like, but also like the small town having a secret, just some things I really, really loved. Also the talk about grief in here. There's talk about racism in here. There's so many beautiful discussions within the Ghost Tree that I loved, and I just love Christina Henry is just like a brilliant writer. Like her writing is exactly the same, like top tier. I really, really enjoy her writing. Let's do a sum up of the entire readathon because it's over. I can't believe how incredible the readathon was. I finished 13 books, which is insane, in 72 hours. It's all because of this bad boy. I love spinning. Like, the urge to finish my book to then spin, insane. I also just think it's so much fun hanging out with everyone on Sprints because we go so hard for this. If you aren't already subscribed to everyone else that participated in this, please do. Obviously, we had Mel and Rye, who are my late night crew, friends and hosts of this and creators of this, but we also had our two guest hosts, which are Kaylee and Lexi, and they are amazing. I love them. They sprint a lot, they have reading vlogs, and all of us have a reading vlog coming out for this readathon, so please go check them out. We read incredible books together and we had so many laughs during this time. I can't wait for the next 72 hours. But let's talk about the books I read. I read 13 books. I obviously don't own all of them, but that's incredible because it will help my reading goal of just reading more horror this year, because I do think I really, really love horror, and it was proved to me in this readathon because like I had books I absolutely adored and loved in this, and I need to read more horror, specifically some authors that I read from in here. I cannot wait to read from again. I also think that this really helped me kind of dial in my type of horror. Also, something I really, really love about horror is something that this genre does more than any other genre, which is talk about human things. I find horror more than any other genre talks about things like grief, addiction, racism, because all of those things are scary and develop really well into conversations in horror books, and I think horror books just, that is something very beautiful about them. There's so many more things that they talk about than just those things, but those are like some of the elements that I like when a horror book talks about now. It's also something I like in fantasy, so I'm not surprised, but I see it done more and better in horror than any other genre that I currently read and enjoy. Obviously, my favorite read of the weekend was Ghost Eaters by Clay McCoy Chapman. Very excited that I got a 5-star. Like, this is incredible. And I cannot wait to read Whisper Down the Lane. Close second to that is The Ghost Tree by Christina Henry. I previously loved this author, so not surprised. And then after that, it's probably Final Girls by Mira Grant. I really, really liked that one. I also really liked The Murders of Molly Southbourne. I think this has really just made me realize how much I do love sci-fi horror and I want more of it. So if you have any recommendations for sci-fi horror, let me know. Both of these also talked about grief, which was something I really enjoyed. One I didn't like as much that talked about grief was Blanky, but I still liked it, and I still have read multiple Keelan Patrick Burks during this readathon. My favorite's still Sour Candy, which I read last year, but it's made me want to pick up way more from him, and specifically I want to pick up a longer story, even though I really, really like his short stories, and I think that he does them really, really well. Darcy continues to be a favorite for me, but I'm now a short story gal. Some of these were 5-star for me and would probably be up here as like my third favorite read, just because like I loved some of these so much. Like The Mannequins was just like chef's kiss. I need all the recommendations. Please give me some short story collections. Please, I want to read some. I need to get some. Shockingly, I liked Dead Inside, but like I know I'm an extreme horror gore kind of gal sometimes. Also had beautiful discussions in it. Horror Store was disappointing for me, but like not surprisingly, and probably, even though I'm still gonna try Grady in the future, it probably is a time where I should say I'm not a Grady fan after this. Same with T. Kingfisher, disappointing but not surprised. Cirque Berserk I was very sad that I didn't love, but helps me realize what I like in slashers and what I like in horror in general. I think all of my favorites, like if I'm gonna throw up like a Darcy in here too, all three of these books are very character driven. I think I love strong characters in my horror books. I also think Jack and Jill was very character driven. So if you can make me love the characters, I'm along for the ride, and I want like human interactions and human connections. I've learned so much, I think. I'm definitely very excited to still read a lot of horror books, and I'm just so happy with how this readathon went over. So thank you all so much for participating. Thank you for watching this video and making it all the way to the end. As I said, linked in the description bar below will be all of the co-host channels. If you guys participated, made a vlog, please tag us in it. We would love to see it. If you are not feeling chatty and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say we're here, leave me some kind of horror emoji, like a ghost or something like that. Just, we're in a haunted house, come on. And then if you are feeling chatty and you participated in the readathon, let me know what your favorite read of the readathon was, and if you were shocked or excited about any of the books I read. I really hope more people try these two. Actually, Keelan Patrick Burke too. He deserves more love. If you'd like to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.